Good morning. Greetings from the future, tales from the metaverse. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about dating in the metaverse, a new way to date and possibly find a partner. We're going to learn all about it in the next hour. So let's go ahead and start with Eric introducing our special guest, if you can, please.
I'm bringing some love into the air as well. I was following his lead just for those people that are joining us today. You know, if you're searching for love, obviously we've been exploring the metaverse, and well, you're here. There's people that are looking to meet people. So we originally, Mark made a special cameo on our show. A few months ago, he popped in on one of our episodes, and
very abruptly. I do apologize.
No, we love people showing up, and it was a great little cameo. But it sparked, hey, we would like to do an episode on the metaverse, and it's taken a few months. And I know that you were redoing some stuff on your site, but it's great to have you here today. We're looking forward to talking about dating in the metaverse.
Great to be here.
Great. Mark, can you tell us a little bit about yourself then, please?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Mark. So before I even started, exploring the realm of what is now known as the metaverse commercially, I was a personal trainer and a gym manager in London. And lockdown happened, and one of my family members had a VR headset, which I always assumed it was a gaming device. Tried it on and discovered the app Altspace, and absolutely fell in love with the fact that behind all these pixelated characters of people were real people in real locations. And I thought, what a wonderful concept from someone that's not really been in the scene to discover the scene and actually see the beauty of it. And then I started exploring the realm of VR more and more. I always assumed it was a gaming device, and when I put it on and when I was speaking to people, it was amazing. And then I met a few avatars through lockdown, and what we all had in common was lockdown. So my norm quickly became, coming into Avatar in the evening after work, which when I say work, it'd be working in the kitchen on my computer, migrating to the living room to put a VR headset on to socialize. Then I met more avatars, spent more time with them, developed friendships. One in particular became closer and closer to me. We were chatting and hanging out more and more. And I discovered, through getting to know him, that we were both from the same community, which is LGBT. And we started hanging out more and more. In multiple iterations in our country, there was moments. So we actually chose to meet up in real life. And when we did, I suppose the rest is history. We're now engaged. We live together. And I say is probably one of the first kind of heavily documented kind of accounts of someone that's met in the virtual reality space. I'm aware that there is others that have come before me, but I think my story got picked up in particular, given the nature and the buzz around the metaverse, like since Mark Zuckerberg made the announcement. So obviously more media outlet companies were looking into that avenue to kind of, dig out stories. And I think just ours was one that came across. But anyway, before that, during the lockdown, I wasn't working and I was living with my now fiance at that time. I was like, I want to create a world that's super professional because I was let go from my job that I was working at. And I was like, this is such a cool way to date. If only I could date, not that I was looking for it anymore, but I was thinking there must be loads of other people that are looking for a partner. And if we can make a world that enables them to speed date and it actually be match based and geolocated, orientation, all that, then I created Dates VR with my friend Jiffer and my now partner Erg. Yeah, so that's kind of the story. I'm sure you probably have questions. I don't know, but yeah.
A great introduction. And, one of the things that you basically hit the nail on the head there is people's perceptions that VR is for gaming. And, why would anyone be interested in getting a headset if they're not interested in games? And I think we really need to change that perception that games are one component of being in VR, but there's so much else, like being able to find a partner.
Yeah. Can I add on to that point, John? I think, I did the traditional got a VR headset or Beat Saber seemed to be the standard go-to game. I think I've played it 4 times and I've never played it since. My headset is literally a vessel in which I access alt space, and that is the sole purpose of what I do now. It's just for me, as a man in my 30s, I'm much more interested in people, socializing, love stories, love kind of interesting social dynamics. And of course, that can be laced with games, but yeah, my predominant use is not gaming. And I think that's probably the hurdle that a lot of these kind of metaverse like companies might have to tackle, is to kind of bridge that gap between someone like myself in marketing. Because whenever I saw footage of this, before I did see these avatars before, like it was on my radar, I just assumed it was a game straight off the bat, didn't kind of connect the dots in my head. And that's the battle that I think a lot of these companies have got on their hands. A personal struggle that we have to kind of bridge that gap as well.
Yeah, I think the part of the maybe the reason why these companies view it the way they do, people are buying a game and it's the money, right? $20, $50, $60, and then they've got these add-ons. They can buy the skins, so there's that money there. For social VR, we're part of the experiment right now. This is all free here. Our studio, what is the value of the studio and rent? But the social element that we're in here with, as there's a value here, but maybe I think that they don't see, the money. Like even dating services, people are willing to pay to meet somebody as well. I know, if I'm going to meet somebody, like, hey, you got enough monthly subscriptions. This is another subscription that it's like, hey, why not?
I think, like you said there, Mystery, it's definitely, we are the experiment. I think we're all pretty ahead of our time at this stage in the game. I think people are kind of failing, like on a commercial level, to foresee what this is going to become. I think, it's getting more attention since Mark Zuckerberg has made the announcements of what his plans are with his business. I think companies are starting to pay attention, but yet they don't fully understand it. And I feel like I think VR is at a fundamental stage now where what social media was 10 years ago, if I had known what Instagram was going to become at this stage in the game, then I think you need to take it a bit more seriously. And I think this is what VR is at right now. It's a great concept. People don't really know how to best utilize it. Therefore, no one's really utilizing it, and I think people that are ahead of the curve will it's good to establish ground at this point.
Yeah.
Talking about this, what kind of, let's say, from the technology side, let's say, when you started your idea doing dating in VR, how did you start it in using technology? Are you a programmer? Are you somehow having affiliates, some people that had to develop technologies? Because thinking about dating, online dating, and there are huge companies today with big databases and a lot of artificial intelligence, whatever behind that. What is your approach?
So I think, to touch on to your point at the beginning, like I think when I came in here, everything was overwhelming. I was like, who are you? What do you do? How do you know these people? Like I was just so overwhelmed by everything that I couldn't possibly comprehend what was actually happening. I think as time's gone on, like I said, we went through lockdown. I got let go as a manager at the job because they couldn't offer it to me again because, the lockdown killed the business essentially. So it was a lot of trial and error and just figuring stuff out for myself and fumbling my whole way through it, making a lot of mistakes, reapproaching it the day after. And as time's gone on, I'd say I've become somewhat of a master of what I do. Like I'm very good at just kind of figuring stuff out, or figuring, alternative ways to make the same thing happen. I've got Unity now, I've got Blender now. These were words that were never on my lips a year and a half ago. I was clueless to what that even meant. Like, what is that? What do you do? I literally have both of those programs on my computer now. There's things that I play around with on there. So there's a lot I figured out. And then back to your point, like what you said there about what makes us unique, that I suppose a lot of these big tech companies that are using AI and all these other avenues to kind of develop a really, huge kind of product. I think the fundamental difference with what we're doing is that it's a manned event. Like, it's run by staff. These conglomerates that are creating these kind of ideas, is for them to not be engaged in it at all, and that it will be automated. Whereas what we do is actually an event. It's a ticket. People come in. There's staff. There's someone showing you to where you're going. It's not an isolated experience. It's very much involved. It's like we want people to feel like they're being shown the way by someone who's in charge, but at the same time have those moments, have those conversations with people. Did I answer your question, or did I go around the place?
Yeah, no, you know what? No, but I think that that's a great way to segue to this experience that people will create via dating. So in the past, if you were single over the years, where did you meet somebody? Now, I think this is an important way, like, of how dating has evolved. It's like, I feel like TV shows and everything like that, they also implement things on people where to meet somebody. The grocery store could be a chance encounter, the library, social gatherings, your local watering hole, the church, a sporting event, placing a classified ad, or meeting somebody at work. There's a lot of places to where it's like, you're out and you're looking, but I think that's what technology has come in, and now it's kind of like you can look for the specific things where you're kind of going through everything and getting precisely hey, this is what I want, so I think that's where it's evolving.
I think it's gone full circle. So if I was to analyze, dating historically, I think people would have met a colleague at work, and they might have built the foundations of a friendship, and maybe on a staff night out they might have kind of bridged it a bit closer to the point where they've developed a relationship, or a family friend, or these avenues that are traditional. And as time's gone on and technology's become a bigger part of our life, I think people then sought convenience. They wanted apps that would kind of conveniently put people in their hands. And then I think people wanted the convenience, but when the convenience was given to them, it was convenient, and then it became not so convenient. Then it became isolated and detached, and then it became nothing. And I think that's what's happened. Now it's gone full circle. People don't necessarily want the convenience. They want quality and time. And I think that's what we provide. People come in to our events, and they get, it's because it's so immersive. They're not there like looking at their phone, or they're not distracted. They're in the moment. They're talking to someone. They've got a set amount of time, and they have an in-depth conversation. They can stay there and continue to talk. So I think people now are craving the original old methods of talking to someone, building something with them. And this is what this technology provides, luckily. And then the apps provided what they thought people wanted, but I think now it's transitioning again. People don't want this. I mean, how many times have you been on a dating app? I know I have personally, sent a message to someone, and it's kind of haphazard messaging back. And then sometimes you don't message them, you go back to the swipe again, and it's just about getting more matches. It's kind of really bypassed the point of the program. Whereas, I feel like what we're fundamentally focusing on is recreating what society would have given us in the first place, like 4 dating apps, but in a heightened dating app like version, So that's where I'm at with it.
I've actually seen people with the swipe app. One of the things that just blew me away, because I've done, when I've been engaged with that thing, but I've seen some people, what they do is they swipe right on every single person. They don't bother reading the profiles, and then they go back to only the people that they matched with. So they felt like that would be a complete waste of time to read the thing and then decide to So it's just like, it kind of blows your mind of like, everybody does it in a different way, but, and then they delete the people after they read it to where like, oh, I didn't want to match with this person. Like, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting.
It's just become an empty process. And I think initially, like I said, it was like very engaging and people wanted that. And then now it's like, when I've used it, even I would find myself guilty of haphazardly replying and kind of like whenever, like, and then actually just probably favoring the swipe actually over the interaction. And the thing is, with the dating app, you only have the image to base someone off and what you read in text. So like you have to decipher someone from what you read of them, and it does propagate a kind of I'm only basing this off your appearance, but having said that, we do post the images of the candidate in our private events. The good thing, what I like, which makes ours fundamentally more different, is that you get to see how other avatars interact with other avatars. You get to see someone that you're potentially interested in dating interacting with other people. It's not just an insular one-on-one. It's like, oh, okay, so that person's actually nice. They're having a good time. They're making everyone feel good. So there's more to base someone on, like the character, the value of their character. I know it's kind of just hand movements and head movements, but I feel like you pick up someone's body language, their demeanor. There's so much more to take in from this than you would. And it's instant. It's a conversation. I feel like I've been on other apps that have allowed me to connect instantly via FaceTime with potential suitors. Problem is that really attracts the wrong kind of audience. And I feel like because it's like just them and that person, and they can instantly just be like, no, next, whatever, can act in really inappropriate behavior. What we found in our one is that people act like their truly best selves, which is brilliant because they're in an environment where there's a member of staff watching them. If they're not conducting themselves appropriately, boom, they're out. Like it's not okay. But like I just feel like there's a lot of benefits to this as a dating alternative.
Yeah. So I love like going through the motions of this and like learning about this process. So I'm curious to like, because like speed dating, for instance, you're getting could you break, because that to me is okay, you're getting a specific amount of time that you're going to get with somebody, and you can get that kind of vibe. Or now I haven't really done the speed dating. Could you bring me up to date on like what we would experience with a speed
I'll
dating?
explain the private events. We do two types of event. There's a public event and there's a private one. The public event is on every Wednesday at 9 p.m. GMT, which is UK time. And obviously you can translate all the other times on Google. And then the private ones, which is ones that we fundamentally pride ourselves on because that is match-based, based off people's criteria. They would receive a private invite. They would all portal in at the time of their event. No one else can get in. It's just them. They all come up to the main island where myself or some of my colleagues, members of staff, one of us will be stood in the middle to greet everyone, instigate some conversation. What the go-to tactics here is to go up to someone and say, hey, how's it going? Break that wall down. Oh, hi, what's your name? I'll say, hey, guys, meet each other. And then walk and like just spend our time breaking down those barriers so people are mingling and just having a chat before the event starts. And then we have 8 islands around the outside of the center circle where everyone stood. And at each island, there is a photo frame to put a photo. And on one side, there's a screen for inspiration questions. So we play the VT, which explains how it all works, saying, each candidate will go up, spend 2.5 minutes with a possible suitor before moving on to the next one. So, for example, if it's a heterosexual dating event, so straight men, straight women, we would put the straight men up on each station, so they get a station each, then partner them up. So there's a circle on the floor where they would stand, and there's another circle on the floor. We would partner them up at random with a female because all the females would get a chance to speak to all the males. Then once they're all on the correct islands, a photo behind the avatar will appear. So you'll see who you're actually talking to, like what they look like. And then the VT starts, inspiration questions come up, like really thought-provoking questions to kind of help you assess what someone's like as a person. Of course, you don't have to use those questions. You're free to ask whatever questions you want. But, it's a good way if you find yourself stumped for what to say, you can just default to the questions, which some people do. Social anxiety is very real in our events because people feel the pressure. It feels very real. Then we button them up, and then they get 2.5 minutes for the female avatar to talk to the male avatar, where they can see the male avatar's photo. Then the video will prompt them to move on to meet the next male. So all the ladies will rotate, and we'll have an interval. We'll bring them all in. At this point, the men haven't seen the women. They all mingle and chat with each other again. Then it's the women's turn. So we put the ladies up, photos up behind them, the men go there, and they get to date the same person twice, but they haven't seen each other's photo until the second date. So then they then go around and talk to each other. At that point, would have had something else to talk about from the previous date, like the previous 2.5 minutes. Then they all come back in the middle when it's done, and then we have a bit of an after party where we just put some music on and let people continue to mingle, or we take them to our after party venue where they can just explore worlds together, and whoever they really vibed with, they can go off and wonder the worlds of Alt Space with.
That sounds pretty magical.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty. I'm ready to go on and go on and explore, and I feel like it's just a great way to meet new friends and people. I feel like the thing with dating as well, people want to think dating right out of the bat is, hey, we're gonna hook up, and I feel like that's the mentality of that we need to curve a little bit, as well as getting, I feel like when we're meeting in VR, even getting to know people a little bit more, it's the respect, it's consent, it's all of those things that are just important. And you can kind of get to know somebody, vibe with before, you got to make sure that both people are feeling this energy and connection before going farther. I think that is super important as well. But a safe place to explore. I feel like this is more people would be, there's a lot of people single out there that are looking to meet somebody. So I feel like this could be enough of a motivation to even have people get a headset, just to,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people fail to remember that you can access it via 2D on your desktop. I feel like that is something overlooked, and that is something we're currently working on an advert to best kind of describe what it is that we do at Dates VR. And the advert does kind of bridge that gap to help people see that if they have a desktop computer, they can just access it. But ultimately, like the VR, I am biased towards because it is completely immersive. My eyes can't linger anywhere else other than in this environment. You are here, you're in front of me, I'm listening to the context of your question, I'm answering it authentically, and I'm engaged. So I feel like the desktop is great. It's a conduit in which you can access what it is we do. But I would say anyone who really likes what it is we do is to definitely invest in the VR headset. But having said what you said there about people making friendships, that's why we introduced the new friends at speed dating every Wednesday, because some people don't necessarily want to date. They just want to experience what Dates VR is all about, or they're too nervous to date to take the leap to that. So what we do with the new friend speed dating one is no photos are required. We don't put any photos up behind anyone. Anyone who comes in, everyone accepts that they could be meeting any gender, any orientation, any age, obviously above 18, to be respectful, like of one another. You're not there for the intentions of dating or there for the intention of making a friendship. But the thing that we found, because that was a later addition that we added in, is that people would try the new friend speed dating and the signups would jump every time. Like people are like, they're like, okay, I see the power of this. See how I want this as a dating alternative. And what's great is that they have these really in-depth kind of conversations with complete strangers, because I don't know if you've ever just like roamed the halls of Alt Space, as it were. But it's quite difficult to just walk up to an avatar and just butt in on their conversation or strike up a conversation, even though it's completely acceptable. I know, like, generally everyone's been very accommodating and polite if I've just walked up to them and spoke to them. But someone that might be a bit nervous, and we've had people come up to us and talk to us in our events saying, like, oh, thank you, like that's really helped me kind of like break down that wall with someone, and then they've gone on and formed friendships with them. So And then, yeah, and now they're a part of our private events, so that once they get an invite, they'll be coming to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that is a huge thing to where some people, they just need a friend. They're
Yeah.
alone and going through this whole transition. And I think that that is very powerful to, hey, if this is what's speaking to you, maybe this is where to start, not going into the other. And I feel like that's comfortable. And then even going back to the 2D question, before investing in a headset, I actually think, if you have a Microsoft account, you could easily log in, get access, come in and
Yeah.
experience the world and just get a small taste. Like, you don't have to make huge investment, but at least you can get a feel for what you're going to be getting into. And yes, it's not the immersiveness, but at least
Yeah.
it's the first. That the first
It's a
step is
stepping stone.
available. It is. It is.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, I love the fact that you mentioned, going on an adventure after meeting someone, because that, to me is what virtual reality is all about, is, going to places, exploring different places, perhaps going on a roller coaster ride, stuff that, I mean, there's unlimited things that one can do. And it's, not,
Yeah.
I mean, the only difference that I see between going on an adventure with someone in virtual reality and in real life is that VR is just so much more convenient, that you can meet people
Yeah.
from all over the world. You're not location bound, and you don't have to drive somewhere. You don't have to find parking. You don't have to pay admission fees, for the most part,
Yeah.
anyway. And it's just
Yeah.
really conducive to friendship, I believe.
So
Chris,
we're
thoughts?
currently.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Can I add on to what you're saying there, John?
Yeah, no, yeah.
So yeah, we're like Dates VR. So we're currently working on a new venue. So we've got the existing venue where these speed dates happen and people instigate, like, the startings of something. When I say something, it's not inherently implied that it's going to become a relationship. We definitely say have the outlook of a friendship. That's a healthy way to look at it. But yeah, for those that really did click, like we've got this other venue that's in development. It's not open yet, but it will be. Is that like an after second dates like venue where it's just for those two people? And yeah, there's some exciting stuff happening there, but because we've had people come on our private dates and interested in a second one, and then it's just like, oh, okay, well, do like that's kind of what it's at the moment. And then we're always like, actually, there's probably more scope here, kind of give people another level to kind of really help them get to know one another. And yeah, so we're working on another after party for people that there's the after party that people can just go to, but then there's an after second dates one that people can go on.
Well, see, the thing that I love that you actually brought up, like dancing. Like, I feel like there's a lot of social anxiety with dancing as well. So you get people to break the ice, they connect, and even like moving energy of a song back and forth, and just kind of like the lyrics of the song, if you choose the right kind of songs, it really, those provoke, energy too that's existing in the space. And it doesn't need to be, I know people want to get straight to the hookup, but I feel like it's about creating comfort, right? To where people just feel, because I feel like there's people that are more advanced with it, but you almost need to go to the least person in the room of like, hey, what's going to make this person feel more comfortable in the space? Because those are the real people we need to help with this, that they don't have people and they need people to, they're just craving, some connection and friendships and being embraced and supported. There is a lot of that out there, and there's you just feel a huge need for it in the world. And it's very important. I think that it's like it's downplayed a lot, but it is more important now than ever. So I really do think that there's a huge value in what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And I'd say, like, there's a lot of value like, sorry to keep referring it to what I do. I know this is why I'm here, but I'm not trying to constantly pull it back to what I'm doing. I'm trying to just kind of keep it open as possible. But like with the new friend speed dating one, what we love about it, because it doesn't require a photo, you're essentially making an image of someone just based off what you can hear. Right. So like it doesn't like the avatar we appreciate is an embellishment of who we are as human beings. I mean, when I see someone with giant purple hair up to here, I can pretty much appreciate that that's not what they look like in real life. I just understand that these are vessels in which we are talking through. But what I love about this technology is that it transcends a lot of things that you would otherwise in society without even being maybe cognitively aware of it, that you kind of lift all your biases of anything. You're just judging someone by the merit of their personality. And I think that's what's gorgeous about it. Stuck on these new friends speed dating ones, but just kind of listening to someone. What have they got to say? What makes them interesting without knowing what they look like, without knowing their age, without, like, so I feel like that's truly magical. Obviously, again, 18 plus with our events, and there's a good protocol for that to make sure that people are safe that come into our events. But obviously, if you're going to go down the avenue of potentially dating someone, of course you want to see what they look like. But a friendship in VR, I don't care what you look like. I don't care your age. I don't care where you are. I just care that you're fun to hang out with. Like,
Right,
and I feel like
exactly.
this technology could be the ending of loneliness. And I think loneliness is a proper epidemic in most countries, especially for the elderly. And if they could just incorporate or like encourage this technology, I know that like people would feel so fulfilled. I remember like throughout lockdown was, before the Oculus, I was like, I was getting so fed up with it. I was so like agitated. I was dying to see my friends. I wanted to go out. Zooms weren't quite cutting it, and they were very much like, oh, let's do a Zoom at this time, like this kind of thing. Whereas I could just pop a headset on and walk up to a complete stranger, and within an hour, I know this person. Like I like this person based off the conversations we're having, and I love that, and that's kind of why we wanted to make world just to instigate that first moment for people, and then they have no fear of going up to that avatar and speaking to them again.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, go ahead, Chris. I want to hear what you.
Let's have a look from the content side. Is there anything, any idea from your side, where you say, well, I would like to use this dating in VR in a very special way? Do you have any idea that you maybe not able to create, or that's maybe not feasible in a way? Have any idea you would like to do with dating in VR that you did not yet do, or you haven't been able to do yet?
Well, so at the moment, like, we're a small fish in a really, really big pond that's only ever going to get bigger. And I think it's only a matter of time before, say, a platform like Tinder does something and blows us straight out the water. And we're very aware that that's a threat and that could happen. As for any other dating platform, at the moment, I feel like we're charting very uncertain territory. We're trying our best to kind of figure it out. The thing is, every single person that's ever come to us has a really nice time. And our social media is not what brings people in; it's the word of mouth that's going around in the alt space metaverse. Like, we're a bit of a buzzword. People are having conversations. Are you going to Dates VR on Wednesday? That kind of thing. And that's what I love. I think ultimately my dream, if like I was to kind of have like where Dates VR would be, is that we're operational in every country, in every language, and providing jobs for people. Because I think what's great about what we're doing, that we're providing a job for someone to run an event and a social job. People like can just be at home, pop a headset on, engage with people that are at their own event. So that's kind of the dream of what we want to do. Another thing that I would love to implement in the future, I mean, I'm getting way ahead of myself now, to partner up with kind of like companies that do deliveries, like in real life. So you could send someone a gift, you know, like based off their geolocation, like you don't have, like, you wouldn't have to exclaim your address per se. No, but like you could have a URL or an at handle as you as an avatar while you're having a day, you could send someone a drink. No, like, and it would get delivered to their door. And I think, you know, this technology is all a way off before that becomes like, you know, an actual easy thing to do. Did that answer your question, Chris? I don't know if I actually did.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I was just curious if you had anything in mind where you say like, oh, I think that the metaverse, maybe in the future, the metaverse would be great to have for dating because of this or that development that will take probably place, or would love to be the person who's going to develop this special idea in the metaverse.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of technology and movement in like haptic feedback suits and all these kind of other like more immersive technologies. I think on a consumer level, like reaching the masses, I don't actually think that's the way forwards. I think more sleek and more convenient is the way it's going to go and should go. And I think Apple will probably be the one that drives that innovation. You know, if I can put on a sleek pair of glasses here within 10 seconds or even less than that, I think that's when it becomes a game changer. I think you've got to admit with the current headsets that we're wearing now, it is a bit of a process. You have to put it on, you have to fire it up, you have to check for updates, you have to load in, and then you have to load again while you're in the application. You know, smartphones in their first earliest iterations were kind of cumbersome. Then iPhone came along and then they kind of made it a sleek little app. So there's going to be these incremental changes that come in. I think as technology progresses, I don't think the masses will want more immersion. I think the masses will want more convenience in terms of access. So I think my answer to your question is when there are super sleek pair of glasses and I can whack it on and be at my dating event, and that's when I think that's the change I'm waiting for. Yeah.
Yeah, and how about, I mean, this is talking about even just projecting in the future, but being in a nightclub, you have these glasses, and yes, you have all these people around you here, but you also have the metaverse access to, you know, maybe you're not connecting with anybody in the room right there, and you put on your glasses, and all of a sudden you're listening to the exact same music, but now you have access to your other friends or somebody else that you're interested in. And I feel like you know, there's going to be those like multiple instances happening at the same time where you're out with your friends, but maybe you're not connecting, and you're like, I want to tap it, you know, I'm going to go into be in the same space but be in a different space. I mean, that's some of the magic that I can see happening and see existing.
Yeah. I have had kind of fanciful thoughts about what the future could be, given from what I've seen of this and kind of having my own projections of what could come. I love the idea, you know, I don't know, someone's hologram of their alt space avatar is at that table, and these people that don't have glasses or anything, like, they can just turn and see their like mate in this form, you know, like it would be like I have thought about that, and I think all these things are very possible. I mean, if you can think it, then it can be true, right? You can conceive the idea, it can be a reality. It's just whether, you know, we'll see the technology come out in iterations that we understand. I mean, like, you know, VR headsets had always been on my radar, and the thought of it was a cool idea. But when I tried it, the reality of it kind of opened other ideas that I'd never anticipated before. So who knows what's going to come? No, I think the rate in which technology is changing is alarming. Like it's almost a bit too scary to try and keep up and keep on top. Always feel like I don't know enough. And I think, you know, there's going to be stuff that's going to come in that's going to change the game again. Who would have ever anticipated cryptocurrency, you know, on a consumer level? Don't know, you know. Yeah, it's all kind of mind blowing. Yeah.
The bloody
That's
edge, right? It's exciting,
Yeah.
though. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was, you know, seeing an avatar and not knowing whether that avatar looked like the person in real life. One of the things that I've found recently is that some of the people that I know are making an effort to actually match their avatar with what they look like, or the other way around. In fact, I was speaking to someone the other day who was talking about having a haircut and dyeing their hair so it would match their old space avatar.
Wow.
Do you find most people use another, say, persona when they come into VR, or do they try to match their persona?
I think I think the consensus is, I mean, I understand that mystery is probably not a pale green color. I mean, unless my avatar's interpreting that as pale green. Yeah, like, there's certain kind of rules that I understand. Like, it's quite plausible, John, that you probably do have gray hair. I don't know. Like, I'm just guessing, but you might have based that on
No,
what you
I
actually
do.
look
I
like.
do.
Yeah. So, like, I think, yeah, of course. I think a lot of people just, understand that these are vessels in which we are talking through. It's not necessarily a true representation of who we look like. And some people might love the idea of big, bright, giant purple hair, and some people might like the idea of hair that looks like them. But to add on to your point, I do think that actually maybe that isn't something we haven't foreseen. I think no one probably would have anticipated that a lot of females, as time's gone on, have got duck lips over time because of the influence of social media. So who knows what people's portrayal of their avatar over time with younger generations and generations growing up in this industry or growing up with this as an influence, what kind of effects their avatar might have on their physical appearance. Who knows whether people might do more risky stuff of having procedures to look more like their avatar. It's one thing to make an avatar look like me, but for me to look like an avatar is a concern in itself. Sorry, I'm just going to get my charger. One second.
I can totally see and relate to that. And the reason why me personally I've chosen this color, well, it kind of, when at Burning Man we drank too much pickle juice and I really turned a dark green color at one point in time. And then I rehydrated and this is kind of the color. I feel like I relate to the Simpsons in the sense that they're an indescribable color. Anybody can relate to them. I feel like this is a shade that is not, identifying with a color, which I feel like that's part of the power of the metaverse, is to not be the traditional colors that people are. Like we have somebody here from Pandora, like the purple color. Like to me, Pandora is this other planet within possibly the metaverse, and I think that there's just something to be said about, again, when people meet people, what do you actually look like? Doesn't matter what color I am. And I think that is a true power of the metaverse, is with society's norms that they're having problems with. We can be whoever we want to be in here, and embracing that, and I kind of like and connect with that. And that's kind of my story with becoming this.
Yeah. Well, the thing that we are limited here in All Space VR to is avatars that look more or less human, although, cartoon-like. But if you go to a world like VR chat, you could conceivably have, a squirrel or a snake or, some other characters that are dating. Yeah. And, what do you feel about that?
I think, like, again, I appreciate, maybe it's even more evident in VR chat that is truly not a representation of what they look like as a human. I think there's no clearer case study than that. I think people, again, just accept people as a vessel to talk to, so like, this is the thing. Like, I accept you as avatars right now asking me questions, and I'm engaging with the questions. I think, with appearance it's irrelevant in terms of new friends speed dating, if I was to refer it back to what I do. Obviously, when it comes to actually meeting someone in the real world, I'm not going to try and meet up with someone based off just what your avatar looks like. Like, I want to see what you look like. So if I'm going to meet you in the real world, I want to know who you are. So, but that's why we like the new friend speed dating, just because, you think a lot of people just understand that we're avatars. We see each other very much as equals at this point. Like, there's nothing you can't be that I can't, appearance wise. The only things that we've got is truly the merit of our personality. And I think that is what differentiates the avatars in here, is the person you're talking to. Yeah. Thank you.
It does go back to your other comment, though, about people, perhaps having surgery to look like their avatars. And, I wonder how far people are going to take that. I mean, we have people these days that, love dressing up in costumes and, various other things in terms of a meeting experience, because they can meet like-minded people. So I think we're probably going to be in for a few surprises over the years.
Well, I think with VR, go ahead.
Go on ahead. I cut you off.
No, with VR chat, you can see the surgery and the implants within all the areas. I mean, it is over sexualized in the VR chat. I feel like, and that is the main platform that's out there, but I mean, when you go there, you're like, whoa, what is, and then they're changing their avatar every 2 minutes. They have this huge collection of avatars, and it's interesting to see as far as the dynamic goes.
I think it is the largest VR platform out there for its demographic. So I feel like the demographic of Altspace is very different. Like, it's adults in here. Like, of course you get the odd, kid and whatnot. And I think, given the nature of the technology, the age demographics, of course VR chat's gonna appeal more to that audience. And I feel like this will appeal more to the audiences that are coming. Like, that will come. This will be the platform for the 25 pluses, like,
all right,
that wanna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we're running out of time here, and we've avoided talking about coming. I think that it's appropriate to transfer into, anybody that showed up into the Dates VR. They're interested in the intimacy here. So I feel like if we don't address this kind of question, people are not going to necessarily feel fulfilled with the episodes. So if you could elaborate, because I'm sure you have some stories.
What, in terms of intimacy? So I guess, sorry, were you going to say something, John? No. I think, like, my perception of intimacy in this is, obviously, when you get up close to someone's avatar and you speak a bit quietly, I think that does translate to some sort of kind of affection. Like, it's not real, but the kind of synthetic idea of it is enough to kind of emulate the same feeling within me, and I like it for that purpose. And also, I think intimacy comes in a lot of shapes and forms. I think intimacy can definitely boil down to just a conversation, and how you're choosing to talk to someone, and how comfortable you're allowing them to authentically be themselves and talk. I think that's as far as intimacy goes on this platform. I mean, I think, like, future with haptic suits, I'm sure it can create more of this immersion that a certain set demographic would be interested in. I wouldn't say it would be for the masses. I think ultimately this ticks a lot of boxes for me in terms of, like, social fulfillment, connection, all this. But I think it does boil down to kind of instigating a physical relationship. It's the starting of something that could be real. Yeah.
So for me, but doing Reiki is being, like, in tune with energy, could do energy healing and whatnot. So I feel like I'm sensitive with energy. And I know during, like, some social events and, like, Burning Man, even out on the dance floor, dancing with somebody and just moving the energy of the song back and forth, or doing even putting my hands out and doing some healing work. I felt like it was very interesting, because you could, it did spark a connection, and there was that magical energy. So it really, I don't want to, like, I know you said it maybe doesn't exist, but honestly, like, I felt like it was kind of, and if you have your barrier on, like your bubble on, it's interesting, because you will not feel like the odds of you feeling energy with somebody is very small with the bubble on. When you take the bubble off, it allows you to get closer to somebody. And I've found that it's not every kind of person you connect with, but it is something that can exist, and it's pretty magical.
Yeah, I'd say it's to your, your willingness to be. I think, like people won't necessarily feel those intimacy or those close moments. I guess it's your ability to appreciate those moments, and it's something, whether it's real or not, I guess that's not my place to say. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, if it's real for you, then who am I to tell you it's not? Like,
I guess it's a mystery. It's just all a mystery.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also goes to the fact that people have different conceptions of what intimacy is. To some people, if they hear the word intimacy, they immediately think of jumping into bed with someone or having sex with someone.
Yeah.
That is an interesting part of VR, or really has always been an interesting part of technology, in that the sex industry has driven many parts of technology. And so, I wouldn't be surprised if we do start seeing affordable gadgets out there. In fact, I mean, there are a number of gadgets out there specifically for women. They haven't quite developed something that works well for men, that enable one to have sex, I guess, in quotes, over a distance. So I do see that coming.
I think it is like the next logical step. I think, like, if you imagine the haptic suit, it's not just going to stop at a haptic suit, is it? It's not just going to stop at you being able to feel someone grab your arm. Like, people's thought processes naturally jump to, well, what if it did this for me? And of course, like, the nature of the human race, sexual intercourse is, I think these things will happen, not on a commercial level. I mean, and it wouldn't be for everyone. Like I said, there will be people that will really invest and buy into that because that's their thing. I think for my perception of everything VR, I'd say on the whole, people want to connect on a human level, and I think this is what we've discovered here. It's like there's no way that this would happen in any other capacity than in here right now. This is real to me, even though I'm sat in my office at home.
Well, this has been great. Sorry, Chris, any comments before we wrap up?
No, I just want to, because he was just talking about that perception. For me, I think the biggest question is basically if the metaverse as a construct will give more possibilities, and especially probably it will give more possibilities that people will be able to find each other, because
yes,
a lot of people have the ability, even if they're far away from each other, to meet, and not just by a telephone line or a picture in a social media, but as you described it, like being together, taking some time together and go to a place, to find the place that both like. So for the one, will be the romantic place in Paris that can sit on a balcony and in the evening. And others say, no, I want to be on an island or in a dance club or whatever. You have the chance to do that within minutes. Right?
And that'll also be a reflection of that person's personality as well. Yeah, like just so you get an idea of what that person's like. On top of that, like, so in those kind of spontaneous moments, you'll see where people's values and passions and loves lie.
Yeah, you could go on a date to the Eiffel Tower. You know what I mean? You could just go to Paris and be like, hey, let's look at this spectacular view that so many people have to spend all this money to go do. What's that?
Yeah, I'd say, like, everything that you can possibly conceive right now in your mind, I think is inevitable. It's going to happen. If you can think it, it can be it.
Yeah. 100%.
Great. Well,
I would
Mark,
agree.
it's this hour has gone by extremely quickly, and this has been, really wonderful. Lots of good information. If you would
Thank
like
you.
to close and tell people, where they can find you, what times, what days they can attend, and how to attend, that would be great too.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So yeah, you can find us. We at the moment solely run on Altspace, but we're planning on maybe entering into other metaverse platforms. You can find us at Dates VR. So if you just search Dates VR on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, Instagram is our best platform. There's a link there to kind of sign up for your private information if you want a private invite to an event that's for your matches and your matches only. And our public new friend speed dating event, which I always suggest people come to first before signing up. It's like, I know that doesn't make wise business sense, but I care about the person. So if person's, in experience with it, come to the new friends one, experience that, see how it is for you. And if you feel compelled to sign up for the private, then do so. And we're also on Discord. We haven't built any content for that yet, but we're trying to work it out because it's a whole new platform to me. So that's also mentioned on our Instagram. And yeah, also we're looking for people to get involved. I mean, we only host events in the UK time and in New York time at the moment. We've only just introduced the New York time. We're looking to introduce an LA time zone one as well for public speed dating events, just so you can get a bit more further afield. And yeah, I suppose that's all I've got to say, really. Yeah.
Wonderful. Eric, closing thoughts?
Well, I signed up, so I am interested
cool.
to. I filled out the private form to,
Awesome.
possibly meet people all around the world. And yeah, I mean, I actually, the one thing I would have liked to seen is a few more like hobbies or activities, but I don't know where it goes with it as far as like interests of what you could do.
Yeah.
But
I'd like to add on to that. So we're in the process of adding more fields, but at the moment, because we're relatively niche, we can't be too narrow field in what people can do at this point, but it's coming. Yeah.
No, I love that 100%. So I look forward to exploring within this whole thing, and thank you for coming on.
Oh, awesome. Thank you guys. Yeah,
Yes, thank you. And this is the Virtual Film Company. We are exploring the metaverse. We are interviewing and talking about different aspects of the metaverse every week. And to see our previous shows, please visit our YouTube channel, the Virtual Film Company, and please subscribe. Thank you very much, and have a great week.
Thanks a lot. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.